Jake Noecker here, home of fight. Honored to be in the Syndicate MMA Octagon. Coach John Wood, thank you for having us. How we doing?
Awesome, man. Just finished up a great pro practice, and thanks for coming in.
Of course. I mean, Vegas is awesome. Gym, I had to come hit, so thank you again. But big weekend, Daniil Doncheko, Gafarov on the card. How are we feeling about their fights? How has the build-up been? How are they looking?
Great, man. Both of them had great camps, really good camps, actually. That surprisingly good camps, which is always, sometimes like, oh, it could be too good. But they both look great, put in, fantastic work, tons of great sparring partners. It's honestly the best they've both looked. So I expect great things, great fights.
And we haven't talked since Merab fought, since Weili Zhang fought. We haven't talked in a while, so we'll get caught up here on everything. Merab's in the room today, looking great. I guess what's your reaction to that fight? I know it's a couple months removed now, but where are we at?
It sucks. Yeah, that's my reaction. It sucks. No, listen, there's a lot of things that go into fighting, and with that fight, there's a lot of things that I would do different. I'm sure, he would do different things that when we go back to the drawing board, there's a lot of good stuff, easy tweaks. There's a lot of things that happen inside and outside behind the scenes, that I won't get into, but anytime that you're chasing greatness, is in which he was. That wasn't a fight that we had to take. That wasn't a fight that we needed to take. That was a fight that he wanted to take to break that record, and that was doing something special. And in my opinion, it was a little too quick, but that's what he does. And again, I've seen him do amazing things, and I've seen him turn around. And I've said this time and time before. He would be back in the gym sparring and training the same way either way, so it was like, hey, let's do it, and so again, you chase greatness, sometimes you come up short, but I don't think we're done. And I think that in my heart, I feel like, we're going to get that title shot back, and we're going to get that title back.
And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but I haven't had the chance to ask you yet. The whole story coming out about, didn't get the full preparation in the back because the fight before was so quick, didn't get his full, whatever he does, 5 rounds of sparring before a fight. Does that actually factor into, is that part of the reason maybe?
I'm not going to make excuses, and I'm not going to make excuses for him or for what went wrong. It just wasn't our night. There's a million things that you could nitpick and go and say, oh, well, this and that, and I had a little this, and everybody does. Everybody's banged up. Nothing ever goes as planned, and fight night and this and that, So it's just one of those things where it is what it was. And we're going to move on, and, and there is no one defining factor that, and if the warm-up in the back causes all that work to just go bye-bye, because we didn't get an extra round or whatever, this or that, we probably messed up somewhere else. So, like I said, there's a lot of things that go into it, but no excuses.
And Merab's, 25 feet away over there. Maybe I should ask him this, but I'll ask you because I have you here. Merab versus Jan 3. Is that what's next, ideally?
Yes. Yeah, we've been told. Jan's even said it. We're next. It's going to be an instant rematch. I think it's well-deserved and earned. It's always nerve-wracking until you get the contracts and get the dates and get everything signed, because you know how the UFC goes. Things can change. You don't have to be the number one contender to jump up and get a fight. Somebody goes out and makes some stellar, crazy performance, and he's the new hot thing. Yep. They can jump the line. That was something we were watching for the O'Malley and Song fight. If O'Malley goes out there and starches him and has some spectacular thing, there's a good chance his name is in the mix. Yep. And so you just never know. But until the contract's signed, we don't know. But as far as we've been told, and as far as everything points to that, and that's what it's looking like.
White House, is that the perfect place to have this fight?
It would be cool. I mean, there's no lie. You can't. It's never been done before. It's one of those things that we've done a couple of those things now with the Sphere. That was a crazy thing. So it would be super cool to do it. I don't know if the dates and times are going to match up, but it's definitely that's a date that we might be looking at.
And then obviously no contract signed yet, but assuming this is the next fight, I don't need the whole game plan. I know you guys got a whole camp to get through, but anything off the bat immediately you're like, there's some adjustments we can make, or is it kind of just a fight where those two are so good the better man's going to win that night?
No, there's definitely some adjustments to make. There's definitely some things that I overlooked, and there's, like I said, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that, leading up to that fight that caused some things to be done differently in camps. And I think that, I know that we can fix those things, and I know that we'll be able to get back on track. And Just a couple little tweaks. Merab is very, you tell him to go out and do something, he's going to go out and do it. And we had kind of focused, I think, on, coming back and finishing a lot of these guys and breaking them like he has with most of the guys, and breaking them, and those finishers be available. And maybe that's something that we looked a little bit too much into and became this thing where it's like, hey, we're looking to knock people out or finish people, where just Merab needs to go do Merab. And that's where I need to be making sure I'm doing my job to make sure he stays doing what he does best. And that's what I think we'll do in this fight.
Did he bring any secrets home from Spain training with Ilia Topuria? Has he talked about that at all?
No, and if he did, I'm not telling him. So we'll see.
And I mean, Merab's one. You got the big three: Khalil, Merab, and Weili Zhang, I would say. So is Weili Zhang versus Mackenzie Dern next? I know there's been some chatter about that, but as a fan, I would assume that's the only strawweight title fight to make.
I mean, I think that all signs would point to that. I think that, there's really, there's no doubt in my mind that Weili can go to 25 and compete. There's so many girls she can beat, and probably the only girl that she's going to have the difficulty with is Shevchenko. And, that's just a whole different animal. But it really depends on what she wants to do. But obviously, I think Dern and her make the most sense. I think that that's an easy layup for the matchmakers to go do. And I think that's one that everybody wants to see.
But as far as you know, she's not ruling out staying at flyweight, maybe?
I do not know. That's a conversation I haven't had with her, and I haven't spoke to her, in the last month or two. So the last conversation, it kind of did sound like that there's a good chance that dropping back down to take that title back. But we'll see.
And then, like I said, Khalil Rountree as well. I think he's overseas traveling right now, but how's he been? Any idea when he's looking to get back in there?
Yeah, no, he's great. He's actually in LA right now. He went out and, they were in Asia with his wife for a while, for a month. He had a little, cleanup on his knee. We fought a couple fights with a bad knee, so he needed to have surgery a few fights ago. Got that out of the way. Rehabbing now. He's spending some time in California down at Santos Studios and getting some rehab and working stuff down there. So I was just down there recently with him. But yeah, getting that rehab going, and I think that we're looking probably for a summer return for sure.
Two fun things I need to ask you about, one of which, first, as a fan of both MMA Forever and The Mandalorian and everything else, Gina Carano in here, man, cracking pads, sparring a little bit. Yeah. Is she still in here at all? Is this comeback actually possible?
Yeah, she's here every day. She's back in the mix. She's back training every day. She just started, we spent the first couple months kind of getting her back in shape. She's jumped in now and working with the pros and practices and stuff. So who knows? I am not at will to say what could or could not happen there.
But, okay, I know you can't say what, but you can say if. So there is something that they're working on, yeah?
I think that she has this coming back and training has lit a fire under her ass. I think that there's some things that are potentially, on the table. And I think that, that might be explored. Who knows what's going to happen? She's been out of the game for a while, but I know that she's got that fire, and I know that she's in here training like a bat out of hell every day. So we'll see.
As a fan, man, Ronda and Gina. Again, I know you can't talk on anything, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But glad to hear Gina Carano's back. And then the last thing I want to ask about is a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, whenever it was, Arman Tsarukyan went viral for paying for a fan to come train here. Is this guy still here? What's his name? What's the story there?
Yeah, he's here. His name's Raymond. I actually worked with him 2 nights ago. Came up, did a private with him. Awesome kid. He's 15. Seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's wanted to train, and he's not bad. I came in, like I said, I worked with him for about an hour, moved around. He's got some good striking. Obviously, he's green, and he's young. So, we had a good talk about just taking it slow, learning what you need to learn, and if it gets to be one time he's 18, if he wants to fight, I'm sure he's going to be ready, and he, like I said, he's got a real good head on his shoulders. He's kind of staying off the social media thing right now. Because I asked him, I was like, hey, are you on social media? He's like, no, I'm trying to stay away. I said, good, stay away from it. Just don't even bother. Don't even bother until it's a need. So I like him a lot, and I'm going to keep track of him and make sure that, the situation that happened for him was, was like he's just right time, right place, luck of the gods, whatever you want to call it. But he needs to take advantage of that opportunity, and I think he will. I really do. I think that kid's going to do some good things.
He doesn't need social media. If he gets a couple wins in there, and it's just like Arman Tsarukyan paid for this kid. Now he's fighting for UFC belt. The story writes itself.
He's got a backstory. And when you have a backstory already this young and coming in, and people are going to be interested in watching his journey, it's great, man. It's good for him.
Well, shout out Raymond, shout out Arman, and shout out Coach John Wood. Coach, appreciate your time as always. Before I get you out of here, though, anything for all your fans and people supporting the gym?
Yeah, just tune in this weekend. Like I said, Daniil and Muin got big fights coming up. We got a lot of fights I think we have like 8 people fighting this weekend, but from here all the way out to, I think April, we're already booked out every weekend. So lots of big things for Syndicate this year.
Checking out from Syndicate MMA, Jake Noecker, John Wood. Catch you guys later.